let's talk about Kadena, and let's talk about what Kevin from Coinmetro thinks about Kadena. In today's video, we're going to do a deep dive into all things Kadena. I'm going to ask the question, am I crazy? Because why am I the only big crypto YouTuber that's actually talking about Kadena outside of Crypto R Us? Why did BitBoy sell its Kadena? If you haven't saw part 1 or part 2 of this mini series, definitely check them out because Kevin will earn your trust, I guarantee it. Ready? Let's dive deep. What is your opinion? Because it's nice that I get to talk to somebody that's not associated with a project, man. I can't wrap my head around when you start understanding like the blockchain technology from first principles and you start to study something like Kadena and you really learn what they're putting together. And it's really, I don't even know how to explain how impressive what they've accomplished, or I guess we need to see CADX turn on first, but then what could potential it could have. And it seems so odd that just even the biggest influencers in this space are just acting like Kadena's, might be a cool thing. Like it might. And it just blows my mind that everybody, you would think even like Coinbase would be like, that's what we've all been working to build for so long. We got it. Like, how do we give you support, Kadena? But to me, it's looking like everybody really realizes what Kadena, I guess, could potentially do to the rest of the industry. Maybe some other projects may or may not be relevant anymore. There's no real use case for them. It's almost like they're trying, it's like everybody's working against Kadena is the way I feel like it. And it just, I don't understand why you would think everybody would be trying to hand over fist, give Kadena support in that like you guys are.
Yeah, I think there's an element of, there's always this idea when there's a new idea, like some nuanced idea or someone solves a problem that the kind of the world's working against them. But I think I look at it another way. I don't necessarily think the people are working against one. Influencers, are in many ways most of them are a dime a dozen, meaning that it's not that they have a large amount of knowledge. Most of them don't necessarily research anything. They just go where the hype and FOMO is because that's what's going to raise their bag so they can cash out and buy a mansion in Miami, right? So, and that's one thing that doesn't happen in other markets because of regulation. It's one reason why everybody should kind of embrace regulation a little bit, because regulation would curtail even like your Elon Musk comments, where those things a lot of times don't help the market. It's kind of just Elon Musk has a bad day, wakes up with like a cramp in his leg and decides to crash Bitcoin because why not? And so I think that aspect of it is kind of understandable in that Kadena is pretty complex. I mean, if you really dig into it, there's a lot of things going on there. There's a lot of things you need to understand to even see the potential. And they're not going to go that deep. So, whatever. But we don't need them, to be honest. I don't think Kadena needs them in any way, shape, or form. Also, there's kind of this idea, most people, when they see success of a business, of a person, whatever, they see it as overnight success. Because I don't see everything that happens, behind this, the 10 years, the 20 years in the lead up. They don't see that. What they see is, yesterday this business or this person was unknown, and today they're huge. Oh, how lucky they are. They got lucky, overnight success. Even things like, remember those GoPro cameras, right? That dude was trying to sell GoPro cameras for 10 years before he made any money, right? But Amazon was unprofitable for 17 years before they made any money. And of course, in crypto, those time spans are a lot shorter usually because we're now in this world where information moves so fast. There's eager people waiting, all over the world to get involved in stuff. I think Kadena kind of is doing many things the right way. They're building without really caring about that hype or that FOMO yet. But that hype and FOMO is going to come. It's going to come because simply they just do things better than other platforms. But at the same time, I don't think, Ethereum is Ethereum, right? This idea of an ETH killer, I hate to say it, but if you look at anything in tech, so if you think about what crypto is, right, from a high level again, it's everything most people don't understand about tech combined with what most people don't understand about finance, kind of all raveled into one. And so what normally happens in tech and in finance when there's a nuanced product is that, the people that use the product first are like criminals. Like they use it for bad things, right? This is not even think about any credit cards, checks, all these things. When they first come out, they get nailed by criminals. Bitcoin, same thing. Silk Road, right? Mostly criminal activity. And then eventually the world kind of adapts, and the world adapts, and the world adapts. But once there's a kingpin, it's pretty hard to get rid of the kingpin. I mean, because people just get used to it and people complain about it. Look at banks. I don't know anybody that has a bank that goes, I love my bank. Every time I call them, it's amazing. I send them flowers, once a year because they're so great. Nobody does that. Yeah. Right. But they don't leave the bank because they're used to it. It's and they have this idea that they need it. I need my bank. Well, no, you don't. You could go to another bank, first of all, or you could just not use a bank. It's actually possible, but people think they need it. So Ethereum's probably always going to be the big dog in the room. They're going to lose market share, so they won't own 60% of the smart contract market or whatever, 80 or 90, whatever it is. They might own 30, but the next runner-up might only own 12. But the market will be 1,000 times bigger, right? So I think, and I think Kadena's positioning themselves quite well in a niche. And I think the niche they're positioning themselves in a lot because of the backgrounds of people on the team is going to be finance. Where Ethereum, people have done bonds on Ethereum and there's been some financial operations on Ethereum, like, institutional operations. But from a retail finance perspective, gas is expensive, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the gas, everybody talks about gas, but if you're JP Morgan and you have to move $1 billion, would you care if it was $3K, $5K in gas fees if you knew it was going to get there and the system was tested for 20 years at that point, or whatever, and works? No, you wouldn't. You'd pay the 10K with a smile on your face and move your $1 billion, right? But for retail guys, again, and smaller transactions, Ethereum will lose at the end of the day. No matter what they do with ETH 2.0 and what they do with sharding, they are going to lose. Mm-hmm. And Kadena is priming themselves to pick up the slack. And they're picking up the slack in a decentralized way that's scalable, which things like Solana, et cetera, can't compete with. Mm-hmm. So eventually the FOMO will hit. And the FOMO will hit, again, when people understand the game. But it takes a while for people to understand the game. But they will understand it. They will get there. And I think, to me, Kadena is a minimum 3-digit asset, coming up. And even this year, regardless of what happens this year, regardless of what the global political, economic world looks like, it has the potential. If you look at something like, not in terms of project or business, but in terms of price action, look at Quant. Look at what Quant did from like €3 to 8, plateaued at like 20 or 30, came back around 8, stayed there for a while, 400 within a couple months. Mm. That's the price action I expect. Similar price action, maybe not similar numbers, maybe not exact numbers, but similar price action, because again, Quant's kind of the same thing. A lot of people slept on Quant. And Quant doesn't do anywhere near what Kadena can do. Right.
What do you think about gaming projects? I think that'll be a big, like, if you built something on Cardano right now and gas is 50 cents per transaction, if you are a degenerate like myself who likes to, go into these wild APYs and, throw a couple bar tabs at it and have some fun, you got to compound 3 times a day. So if the average person's holding 20 assets in their crypto portfolio and they want to stake it in DeFi and compound 20 assets 3 times a day, that's 60 transactions, comes out to about, on Cardano, I calculated it was like 11 or 12,000 for 30 days versus something on Solana, which is $29. So what is your thoughts on any ecosystem that charges over 1 penny for gas? Really, because I could build the same game on Solana and play it for a few pennies, or I could build it on Cardano and pay it for really expensive to somebody that's living paycheck to paycheck, So do you think a lot of gaming will be moving to ecosystems that only charge a penny?
I think we will have protocol wars. I think we're already somewhat in like a protocol war now, even though it might not be so visual yet. And that protocol war is going to decide, because if you think about, tech in general, usually you end up having kind of the company that, for instance, you had way back in the day, VHS versus Beta, the Beta? No, what was the name of the thing? VHF and Jesus, I don't know why I can't remember. Anyway, everybody knows there were two different types of tapes that you could use. And VHS won, not because it was better. It actually had worse quality. It actually was bigger, more bulkier. But for whatever reason, that became the kind of standard. And then we went to like HD DVD versus Blu-ray, and Blu-ray won. Why? I don't know. Blu-ray had less space. You couldn't hold as much on it, but for some reason it won, probably because it was supported by Sony and whoever else. But at the end of the day, exactly. Blu-ray sounds much better than HD DVD. And so that's one aspect. The other aspect is from the finance side, it's very similar, right? If you look at like databases and even databases in finance, there's no standard, right? There are databases that are used by large corporations, large businesses in finance, outside of finance, but there isn't one. There's lots of them. And people choose what they want to use. And so I think these protocol wars are going to start to segment, and you're right. And just like we talked about in the last question, you have your retail segment, whether that be retail finance or gaming or e-commerce or whatever, low value transactions. And when you have low value transactions that are high frequency, you're not going to pay $1,000 for gas, right? No. I mean, you're just not. Right. It's not, regardless if you can, you're not. It's just stupid.
Right.
And so you are going to find the platform that suits your need. And then you're going to have the battle between cheap platforms. So you'll have a just decentralized platform with low TPS like transactions per second. You'll have a decentralized platform with high TPS. You'll have a centralized platform with high TPS, etc. And then based on what you're doing, with gaming, you're right. Solana may take a big chunk out of there. Solana is somewhat very centralized, comparatively speaking to other protocols. However, does a gamer really really care?
Nope.
If they're going to move something for a penny? No, of course they don't care. Now, the guy that cares about that stuff, and probably that's going to be in finance, especially for retail people in finance who don't necessarily want a centralized entity to know what they're doing, or at least everything that they're doing.
Yep.
They're going to opt for another protocol that's probably decentralized and that probably has the highest transactions per second they can find, and also keeps the cost down. And again, that's kind of like Kadena's niche, right? Kadena's niche is I like decentralization. I want something decentralized. I need high transaction. I need to be able to move stuff fast. Throughput needs to be good, but I don't want to pay an arm and a leg for it. Kadena. Again, I'm a gamer. Yeah, maybe Solana. Or, I'm JP Morgan. I need to move 100 billion, but I need to absolutely know it's not going to get lost.
Ethereum.
Well, by then Ethereum might be 10, 12, 15 years old. It's true and tested. It might cost 10K to move the money, but they don't care. They'll pay the 10K, no problem. And so I think that's what we're starting to see, that people don't realize that yet. They think it's there has to be one Ethereum killer. Like, Ethereum's going to die and one thing's going to take its place. No way. There are going to be multiple protocols, and Kadena will be one of them. Solana will be one of them. Ethereum will still be one of them.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you think that